Hello. How are you guys doing? Well, it is about, I think it's like 6 o'clock in the evening. What time did you say it was, Alex? 7 o'clock in the evening. And I wanted to show you something. I'm gonna take you outside. Are you ready to see our patio furniture? Look at all the snow we got. Is this not crazy? Look at that. I'm in my sandals out here in the snow. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that so pretty? Alex like cleared some of the snow for the dogs to go outside. Now you want to make sure you don't eat yellow snow. I'm like literally have snow in my space. Isn't this so pretty? Look at that. So pretty, isn't it? So still and everything. The streets are really bad. Like I went out and I'm gonna go out in just a second to get some food, but I went out earlier and got coffee and the streets were pretty bad. It's actually not too chilly outside. It's nice, but isn't it so pretty? Look out there. I love how still it is back here. So I'm gonna go and get some food for us, and then we're gonna watch RuPaul's Drag Race and just kind of relax around the house tonight. I just finished making a bunch of videos. We were gonna do a review video, but we're actually gonna do it tomorrow instead because it's getting kind of late. So I just wanted to show the snow, and I will be back in a little while. Bye. All right, you guys, I am back. Okay, stay, camera, stay. My nose is totally running tonight. I coughed a little bit today, but not much. I'm feeling much better. And I'm trying to find my chapstick right now. My lip balm. Whenever I say chapstick, people are like, that's not actually chapstick. It's not chapstick brand. It's like calling toilet paper Kleenex. You know what I mean? Listen, in Indiana, we just, anything that you blow your nose with is Kleenex. Anything you put on your lips that's not lipstick is chapstick. Fountain pops or soda or Coke. Even if it's Sprite, we call it Coke. I don't have a Coke tonight, I have water. And yeah, I'm getting texted like crazy right now. Well, I had to get out of the house for a little bit because I have total cabin fever. Alex went to sleep early tonight. I went and got a bunch of food for us, and then I came back, and then we sat there. He had like chips and salsa, and I had some soup and cornbread, and we watched RuPaul's Drag Race. And then Project Runway, I had already watched it, but he watched it. And then he was going to bed, and I laid down with him for a little bit, and I just kind of like talked to the dogs and stuff, and looked on my phone and whatever. And then I was like, I'm gonna go vlog, so now I'm vlogging. And then we're gonna go to brunch tomorrow. I didn't even realize this until I filmed my video yesterday, and I said something about my review video on Friday, my favorites video. I didn't even realize that I hadn't done my Friday favorites video on my review channel. So I have a little special favorites video that I'm gonna do tomorrow. And then Alex and I, we might go see a movie tomorrow night. We might go see Escape Room. So if we do, then I will probably do the review of that on Monday as well. We'll just have to see. I'm currently listening to, on Audible, well, like I started The Stranger Beside Me, which is the book club book this month. And so I'm kind of going back and forth between these books, but I have like just been like banging out books this month, listening to them, and I'm really having fun listening to a lot of these books. And I wanted something else that was like kind of a shorter read that I could really get into. And so, do you hear the, it's wet because of the snow down here. The snow is so pretty. I wanted to read something that was kind of a quicker read, but that I thought would be good. So Hank Green, who is John Green's brother, came out with a book, and I can't remember what it's called. Like This Incredible Awkward Thing or something like that. But it's really good, you guys. I'm like an hour into it, and it is fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I'm going to pull into this parking lot in a second to turn around, so I will tell you guys what the book is called in case you want to go get it. It's so good. And then I think actually after I listen to that, if I finish it in the next couple days, I'm going to... I think that I'm going to listen to the next Karen McManus book, which is called Two of Us Can Keep a Secret. Two Can Keep a Secret, which has nothing to do with the first book that I just read, One of Us is Lying. It's the second book, but I really liked her writing, and I think I want to read something by her again, so I'm thinking about doing that. Okay, this parking lot. I will tell you what the book is called. Okay. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. It's really good. It's about these kids, I said, but they're like graduated from college, and they're kind of artsy and different, and they take this video that goes viral, but it's more than that. It sounds like that, but it's kind of more like, I don't know that I want to say supernatural, but very conspiracy theory of what it is that they take a video of. And so it's really good. It's really like kind of, there's like a lot of intrigue to it, but it's done in a very funny way. And it's all told from the point of view of this girl that wanted to be a fine arts major, but ended up in graphic design. And, you know, John Green, if you've read anything by him, he wrote The Fault in Our Stars, and he and his brother, Hank, are the ones, like their YouTube channel is called The Vlog Brothers, and they started, I remember when I used to watch them back in the day. I don't know why, but I called them the Vlog Brothers. Because I didn't know what a vlog was back then. Isn't that so funny? And now I have a channel called Peter Vlogs. Peter Vlogs. I think I've said that on here before, but I've watched him for a really, really long time. John Green actually lives in Indianapolis. I see him around here quite a bit. But if you've read anything by John Green, one thing I will say for him is that although all of his characters are teenage and angsty and like, you know, all that kind of stuff, it's interesting because they're always like rather innocent teenagers that always are very angsty and things like that. And I would say that Hank Green's characters are not a far cry from that. But the one thing is that they always kind of capture the language. Like they always get it like exact, if that makes sense. Like when you're reading it, it sounds just like a conversation that you would overhear on the street. And but it's interesting, like it just very much reads like a John Green book. So but yeah, I'm reading that and it's good. And I did that today, and there just wasn't a lot to do. Earlier in the day, the roads were really, really bad. I went out and I got coffee. Alex actually went out to brunch with his friend earlier today, and his best friend, he went out to brunch with her for her birthday, because her birthday was a couple days ago. And then I went out and got coffee, and the roads were horrible. People were going really, really slow, but now they're not that bad. I mean, there's still snow on the road, and it just started snowing again. It's really, really pretty. I think we got like, I don't know how much snow we got. Like, I'm gonna guess like maybe, I don't know, 6-8 inches, somewhere in there probably. It's pretty. It's very, very pretty and still. And the dogs were so cute running around in it. We walked a little bit around outside in the backyard today and stuff. We took some pictures for our Instagram, because, you know, we have this couple's Instagram now. So Alex was like, let's take a picture in the snow. And I was like, okay. So I threw on a coat and scarf, and we went out there, and it was fun. But anyway, yeah, it's just been like a really relaxing weekend. It's kind of nice to not have had a whole lot of stuff to do, you know? We're really excited about our LA trip. We're like planning all kinds of things to do when we go out there. And And then, you know, we get back from that and we have about a month until we leave. Ooh. Until we leave for Miami. So we've got 2 good trips coming up, and then this week I'm gonna have to go get a new car, which I'm excited about, but I'm like at the same time I'm not super excited about. And I was looking at some used cars online today. I did look at a Jeep Wrangler, a couple Jeep Wranglers. You know, here's the thing. Like, Alex is like, why don't you just get a Jeep Wrangler? It's in your price range, and it is. It's actually in my price range right now. Like a used one, not a brand new one. And if I got one, I want to get a 4-door hardtop is what I want. And, but like, I know I talked a lot about this on here the last couple days, so I don't really remember what I said. But the thing is that like, as I get older, I want something that's a little bit more comfortable, if that makes sense. And like, as crazy as this sounds, like, I really like all of this, like the radio setup in here and the GPS and all of the bells and whistles. Like, Jeep Wranglers, like, unless you get, like, Alex said he looked at a Sahara that had all the bells and whistles. Well, that's like another $10,000 to $12,000 of what I was looking at. And I was like, yeah, I don't want... It's like really coming down, the snow is now. I'm like, I really don't want to pay that much for a car, like just for the bells and whistles. And then what was interesting was I was looking at some like 2018 Ford Explorers that had like very minimal miles on them. And I was looking at, what were the other cars I was looking at? I looked at a Ford Explorer. I looked at some other cars, but they didn't have like, I mean, I've driven SUVs pretty much like with the exception of like 1 or 2 cars my whole life. I looked at a Jeep, not a Jeep, I looked at a Jeep Cherokee. I drove a Jeep Cherokee before, I did not love it. I would drive one again, I think they're nice cars. It wouldn't be my first pick, unless I got a really good deal on it. But there was another Jeep, I don't know what it's called, maybe, I can't remember, but it looks like a Cherokee. The snow is thick right here. But it would be really good rates for me. So honestly, and I found one that's red, and I've only ever once before driven a red car. I drove a red Pathfinder. So I think red might be kind of a fun car, I don't know. And I found one that was red, and it had very limited amount of miles on it, like nothing at all. Like 8,000 miles on it, and my car payment this month would be super cheap. And I was like, okay, this is maybe not a bad idea. And it looked really nice inside. It was super comfortable, good gas mileage. I was like, okay, this is a good idea. I will tell you, I also found, now I'm gonna have to go drive these cars and see. This is my high end. So either a Jeep Wrangler, I've got my high end, and then I've got my realistic goals. So I'll tell you what will probably happen is that I'll probably go with my realistic goal. But I also, so my realistic goal is like a Ford Explorer, maybe another Ford Escape, but I seriously doubt that. Like some kind of like Jeep, I think it's like Commando or something like that. You guys will know what I'm talking about in the comment section, some of you will. Something like that. And I'm just going to drive to some dealerships on Monday and kind of look around Monday and Tuesday and see what kind of deal I can get. There were actually some really good sales because of it being like the beginning of the year. But anyway, so I'm going to go do that on Monday and Tuesday. But like those are my like, I wouldn't say low end, but like my middle range of like what I want. The thing is that I can get like, if I did like a Ford Explorer that was like a 2018 that didn't have a lot of miles on it, that was maybe like a demo car or something, like the inside is gorgeous, like heated seats inside, you know, great radio system, great all that kind of stuff, low, but I mean, that's what I've been driving like the last 2 cars of mine. I had a Ford Escape and then a Ford Explorer before that, and I don't know that I want to do that again. So I was looking at cars and I found a Range Rover Evoque, I think is what it's called. And I found a couple of them that have maybe a little bit more miles on it that I would like, but not like 100, like 20. And, but still within my price range, maybe a little bit higher than my price range, but not much. So I'm gonna go and test drive that. If it's really, really nice inside, I may splurge and do that. And that may be, I don't know, we'll see. I gotta decide how important it is for me to have like a nicer car when I drive it. If I like, and you know, like I was talking to Tanya today and she's like, I know how you are, and she was like, when you got in that Escape, you just loved it. I did. Like when I got in the Escape the first time when I test drove a bunch of cars. I actually test drove a big Dodge Ram. I really wanted, so the last time that I got a car, okay, which would have been 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, because you know I'm all about country music and I'm a country boy at heart. I really, really wanted a pickup truck, and I went and test drove pickup trucks, and I test drove 2. I drove an Avalanche, I think, and a Dodge Ram, and both of them, like I was like, this is not for me. Like I'm not a pickup truck driver, and like unless you're like, here's the thing. I don't need some huge, insane car anymore, like a Suburban. Like back in the day, I always wanted a Suburban. But like, I don't need that. Like, what am I gonna do with a Suburban? I really don't need that big of a car, right? Now, it's nice to have an SUV because we do go with couples places or friends, and then there's like a back seat, or like, you know, as far as like taking the dogs places, or, you know, like packing up the car, like we're gonna go on a, you know, a little bit of a weekend road trip or whatever. Like that stuff's nice, or going to the airport. I do want kind of a little bit bigger of a car and to move some things, but I don't need something huge and ridiculous, you know, I just don't. So I looked a little bit online today. I looked for like about 40 minutes, and then after that I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go on Monday. I'm not gonna stress out about it Monday or Tuesday, and we'll figure it out then what I'm gonna do, you know. So yeah, so sometime this week I'll be driving a new car. I'm kind of excited about that. I talked to my dad about it today and asked him what he thought. My dad told me that absolutely no, I shouldn't go with a Jeep Wrangler. He was like, I'm telling you, it's a fun car. He was like, you won't be happy with it. He goes, it'll end up being in the shop a lot. I was like, like everybody's being real negative about the Jeep Wrangler. So I'm really, to be honest with you, like I mean, like other than a lot of you that are like, go get your Jeep Wrangler, you know, like a lot of people are just like, it's not good in gas mileage. That's what Tanya told me. She's had quite a few Jeep Wranglers through the years. She always has it as like a second car. Like her husband, Eric, will buy it for her like at an auction, and she'll have like one that's like just, you know, she keeps in the garage for the summer. She has one in her garage right now. And, she's like, Peter, it gets no, I mean, as much as you drive, the gas mileage is horrible. She's like, you know, so, I don't know. My dad was like, he said, I think you would be happier if you got something either like a Ford Explorer that was a 2018 that had very low mileage on it and was just really nice and comfortable inside. He said, as much as you drive, he said, or I think that you should go with the Range Rover. He was like, I think Range Rovers are great cars, but, you know, I don't know. I'll have to go look and see. I have friends of mine that are fortunate enough to be able to just like go to a car dealership and be like, it's not about the money, or, you know, having to think about all that kind of stuff over a period of years and car payments. It's like, they just go out there and buy cars outright. I wish that was my reality, but that's not, and I'm sure it's not the majority of the people that are watching this is reality, and I'm sure you feel me on that. So it's like, well, whatever. But at the same time, I don't want to be like, you know, structured into this car payment that's so expensive that I feel like I'm, you know what I mean? Like, that's a huge part of what I'm putting out every month. I just don't want to do that. So anyway, okay, so there's that. And yeah, that was about my real exciting day that I spent a lot of time talking about that. There's been like so much drama that's been like popping off on like Twitter and social media today and stuff, and you know, to be honest with you, like I don't get on all of that as much as I used to. I mean, I used to just be on Twitter all the time. I actually tonight I tweeted out, I said something about like social media, because it wasn't just Twitter, it's like a lot of things I've seen. I was like, social media has been so ugly the last 24 hours that I'm dedicating the next 24 hours to, what did I put? Class and glamour. And then I tweeted a picture of a dog in a wig, and I'm just gonna tweet 24 hours of pictures of dogs in wigs. I love pictures of dogs in wigs, they crack me up. Why would you want to put out some nastiness in the world when you could tweet out a picture of a dog in a wig? That's my question. But it just is like, there's like a lot, you know? And there's just, I don't know, it's just constantly like, you know what I see a lot of is I see a lot of grown adults doing this kind of shit, you know? That's like childish kind of stuff. And I guess I just don't understand it sometimes, you know? I guess people could say the same thing about being a drama channel, but, you know, in the same degree, I think I try to be fair with what I say. It's also commentary on what I've seen. It's not like constant belittling and needling for weeks and months on end. You know, I don't get that. Like, I really just don't. And today it just seemed like it was like, I mean, not directed at me. It was like directed at like all of these like beauty influencers, and like Logan Paul came out. Like, I don't know if you guys heard this, but like he came out. I made a video about it on my Peter Monn channel. But Logan Paul came out on this podcast and said that for January, he is, going to be vegan and sober, and then February they're going to do the opposite. They're like going to drink a lot, and they're going to like eat a lot of meat. And then in March, they're going to do like, all male March, and that he's going to go gay for a month and all this kind of stuff. Well, and people went crazy, and I understand it, you know? And like the thing is it's like, I either saw like two sides of the spectrum. It was interesting, like, and I put my 2 cents out there and made my video because I had gotten so many requests from people that were like, please make a video about this, please put what you think about that. And it's like, I guess my perspective is a little bit different probably than a lot of people. But yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know too, because I don't talk about it very often, how much like work I did for marriage equality and activism. And you know, like I had a viral post in the Huffington Post, and then Alex and I's pictures were on the cover of the USA Today when marriage equality was passed. And we did a lot. We did a lot for marriage equality, and it's something I very much believe in. It wasn't just about the fact that I had a right to be married. It was about a message that we were sending out to the younger generation, you know? It was about the fact that it was about sending out a message of hope. Because see, when I was in high school, I didn't believe like that could be possible, or that people would ever take me seriously on that level, you know? I've done a lot of anti-bullying work. You know, my book that I wrote is an anti-bullying book. And so it isn't just to me about a joke on a podcast by some guy that hasn't experienced what I've experienced. You know, and then there's a part of me that is like, you know, I saw people very, very angry about it, and I understand the anger and the outrage and whatever. I also believe, that, where am I at on time? I don't want to really get into this and have to stop it. You know, I also believe that anger and outrage are not the ways to convince people. of what's in our heart, because I think then what people hear is just anger and outrage. And at the times that I have been really, really angry, and defensive, I don't think people have heard what I had to say. I think they just heard my anger. And that's a lesson I've learned in the last year. You know, now let me tell you when that lesson was introduced to me. It was years and years and years ago when my mom said to me about cussing. She said, when you cuss, people stop hearing what you're saying and they hear how you say it. And I agree with that. Unfortunately, I didn't learn that lesson. That it's taken me some time, you know? And so I think, like, when we're really angry and our language speaks of that people stop really hearing what's important or what's stopped. Okay. I also think, like, the thing is that, you know, it's like Logan Paul's not the first person in the world to, like, have ever, like, people, like, I got some comments on my video. Actually, people were very supportive in my video on the comments, but, like, I got a few comments from people that I'm sure are, like, huge, you know, Logan Paul fans that said, like, it's not that deep, he was joking, whatever. And, you know, the reality is, maybe it's not. You know, maybe it just really isn't that deep. I don't know, okay? I don't know to somebody else, but to me, it's not something like, I mean, there are people out there that really think that, like, I'm straight up going to hell and that I should die because I'm gay, right? Like, so in comparison to that, do I think that a joke that he made on a podcast, if it was a joke, if he did intend to be joking, is that serious? No, of course not. I'm not stupid, you know, like, I've lived a long life, you know what I mean? Like, and I would be more than willing to sit down with him and have a conversation and explain to him why I think that that's harmful to put that out there in the world and things like that. The reality is, and then, you know, I saw all these people, like, tweeting, like, just get over it, and why is everybody so sensitive, and blah, 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 whatever. You know, that was always the comment that I got, you know, from people when I was growing up would make fun of me. And, you know, like, I would have bullies literally look at my face, drag me through the mud, call me horrible names, make fun of me, and then if I had any look of reaction on my face whatsoever, their response to it was, why are you so sensitive? You need to just get over it. Excuse me? Well, there's a fine line between a joke and verbal abuse. There just is, you know? And I've been really forced in the last year to take a look at how my voice on social media has affected other people. And I think we have to be very, very careful of that. I have learned that, you know? I have learned that we gotta be careful, you know? Does that mean that, you know, I'm going to be perfect for the rest of my life? No, to err is to be human, you know? I really, truly believe that. And I think that our life is about learning from our mistakes and moving on. And he quickly came out and apologized and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, dude, like, seriously, like, it goes, when you take it historically, you know, and you think of gay men, okay, I'm specifically going to talk about gay men in this situation, who were kicked out of their homes, still are being kicked out of their homes because of how they identify, by family members who believe that it is a choice, by family members that believe, like, which is what Logan Paul is saying, is that it's a choice. So there are people out there that are being kicked out, they're homeless, they're suicidal, they're, you know, going to drugs and alcohol, all based on this idea that sexuality is a choice. And when we perpetuate that in society, we're forgetting the stories of the people out there. Not my story. My story wasn't that difficult. Yeah, I was bullied. I had, you know, came out and all that kind of stuff. Take me out of the equation. Take the person that's sleeping right now on the streets in Indianapolis, that's, you know, 20 years old because they have no place else to go, and they're putting themselves into risky situations because they were kicked out, you know, of their home. And if you think this doesn't happen, wake up, because it does. It happens all the time, you know? Oh my God, the camera slid all the way down there. Okay. You know, there are people that are, like I was saying, that are like sleeping on the streets tonight, you know, because that's their reality. And I don't know. You know, I'm much more a believer that when things happen, like, let's do something constructive with it. You know, like let's, I don't know. Like, let's everybody put out their coming out story if they feel comfortable doing that, you know, or doing something positive with it. Or, you know, even like Logan Paul, if he's really apologetic about it, you know, because I read in some article, or I heard somewhere that he like was thinking about having the organization GLAAD on his podcast to talk about it. Okay. You know, like, I don't know why that's comical to me, but I'm like, I don't know why you think that you deserve that for making an ignorant statement, but whatever. But why not do something like, I don't know, why not take it out of that into, you know, how we all identify? You know, it's, the reality is that when you look at the percentage rates of how many people, hold on a second, I gotta figure this out. When you look at the percentage rates of how many people are supposedly gay in society, and then how many people Logan Paul has following his YouTube channel, I think it's a fair estimate to say he has quite a few people that probably identify somewhere on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum that follow him and watch his videos. So he is reaching to those people on some level, and I think to speak directly to those people, or maybe to not perpetuate the stereotype, or to not perpetuate the stereotype of, you know, why not be an ally to, you know, at what point in society do we stop being, you know, the straight community or the LGBTQIA plus community? Or when do we just become the community? Like, when are we all just gonna, like, when does it always have to be so divided, you know? Like, why is it so hard? You know, like, what is so crazy about it to me is that really it shows, like, I mean, I thought, you know, my brother-in-law is his age, and I thought, like, the majority of the people that I know that are that age, they really could give a rat's ass if somebody's gay. Like, it really doesn't mean anything to them. Like, they just don't care. They don't treat really, you know, like, the random person on the street every once in a while, yeah, I get a comment, but, like, very rarely, you know, do I. And I'm, like, in the middle of Indiana. So it kind of surprises me that somebody at that age group, like, has an issue with it. I don't know. You know, and the reality is this, is it's like, it would be easy for me to go on and on about all the struggles that I've had with being gay and whatever, but, you know, in reality, like, yeah, I've had a lot of struggles. Like, I was really horribly bullied growing up. Horribly bullied. But I kind of almost became immune to it at some point, you know? And like I've said on here before, it wasn't like all of school was bad. Like, I mean, I had fun at school too. Like, I had good friends and, you know, we, you know, whatever. But there was always a fear factor every day in going to school. I never knew what was going to happen. I never knew what somebody was going to say. So, you know, it's like, I never knew what was going to happen. You know, that was the biggest fear, was the fear of the unknown, of what could possibly happen that day, if that makes sense, you know? And I share this story, like, okay, so this is what happened with my bully. So I had many bullies in high school. Well, junior high and high school really was the worst. Elementary school kids just made fun of me. But in junior high and high school, it was bad. And especially, like, I would say, like, I look back on junior high, and junior high was hard for me in a different way because I felt very alone. I really didn't have any friends. High school was hard for me in that I had friends, but they the bullies upped the level, if that makes sense. Like, it was threatening. It was like really emotionally tearing me down, and very painful, very, very painful. And the other thing is that, you know, inside in high school, I think, was when, I mean, like, you know, one of the questions I get asked a lot is like, when did you know you were gay? I'm not sure that I really know when I was gay. Like, when did I have, you know, feelings about, you know, that I thought maybe I was gay? Very young, very, very young. But like, I feel like the camera is like sitting in a weird place tonight. Do you guys feel like that? But as far as like exact stories and things like, you guys, I'm really sorry about the wobbling. There's like the snow on the road and stuff is making it bad, and I'm like, can't get the camera in the right place. But like remembering like exact stories of having like, I mean, I had crushes on guys at certain times and whatever, but like specifically like I remember by age such and such, that's how, no, I don't remember that. I can tell you that I know today, like, I know that kids are coming out much younger and things like that. I know today even, I still wouldn't have come out. Like, if I was, like, in junior high right now, I still wouldn't come out. I was so afraid. I was so quiet. I was so reserved. I was terrified. Like, terrified, you know? And then, to go to school, and part of the problem was this, was that, like, when I started realizing that probably was who I was, that I was gay, and people would say things to me, it's like they were taking my story from me before I ever even knew that story to be true for myself. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like I wasn't able to even like own it myself and like process it, which is really unfair. You know, when you think about, you know, I've said before that, like, me being gay is not a whole lot more than who I love and whatever. That being said, it's been a huge part of my life. A huge part of my life, you know? When I look at, like, some of the most defining pieces of my life, right? I think gender has played a huge role. Especially being that, like, the majority of my friends are girls and a lot of my role models have been women. I think gender has played a huge issue in my life. I think my sexuality has played a huge issue in my life. And I think my sobriety has played a huge issue in my life. I think those three things are probably the three biggest things that, yes, ultimately define who I am. Like, my experiences as such. Does that make sense? And even kind of like Tanya and I talk a lot about this. Even a lot of being a gay man is different than, like, okay, like when you're a gay man, if there are boyfriends and husbands watching this right now, don't hate me, but it's the truth. If you're a gay man and you often are around groups of other men, like, it's kind of like the men's club, so to speak. Like, women also speak crass sexually and things like that. Men, it's, I just have to say, I've been privy to conversations before that I am just baffled that actually occur. And because I'm just another guy standing there, they don't really think about the, like, gay man part. But because most of my friends are women, and because they always have been, I think I feel differently about things, obviously. And to just be privy to some conversations that I'm like, did they just really say this? And, you know, I would say in the last 10 years, I've really, in a way that I didn't feel comfortable or maybe even safe to stand up and say something before, now I do. Like, you know, that's really inappropriate what you just said, or that's really disrespectful and sexist and things like that. So, you know, I think that my experiences of all three of those have played out together. So when you think about the fact that one of the most, and I honestly think that when I look at my life and I think about all of my experiences that I've gone through in my life related to being a man, being gay, being sober, when I look at all those experiences, which experiences have formed my identity the most, I would probably say it goes my sexuality, my sobriety, and being a man. So that being the case, somebody else thinking that that's a joke doesn't feel like a joke to me, you know? I'm still baffled, you know, like, and I think, like, what I mean, I want people to understand, like, by this is, like, my experiences of being an addict, being sober, the way people perceive that in society, the way I live my life as a sober person, going out, seeing people drink, seeing people use substances, things like that, the questions I get, on and on and on, being gay, figuring out that I was gay, feeling comfortable to come out to certain people, feeling comfortable even, you know, 7 years ago to say the word husband, because I struggled with that when I first got married. I struggled with saying the word husband out of other people's comfort levels, you know? And then being a man, I didn't know what it meant to be a man. I didn't know what that meant, you know? I didn't know, like... So if you play all these sports and you know how to shoot a hoop, does that make you more of a man than it makes me? You know, what is a man? And how do we define masculinity in our society? And I struggled with that, you know, really, really struggled with that. And, I think that we just can't go through life and act like these things don't affect us, because they do, you know? And we are defined by certain things. I think it's the same thing as, like, you know, like my mother, I think if you asked, like, if she was still alive, like, what things affected her in her life, I think probably having grown up as a woman, you know, at that time period that she grew up in the 50s and the 60s, you know? And I think having been, you know, the daughter of somebody that passed away when she was 4, that, like, really impacted my mother. Like, really, really, I mean, in her entire life, it impacted her fears, it impacted the way that she looked at the world, it impacted her attachment issues, it impacted her trust issues with people. You know, situations that my mother had as a woman, you know, just with, like, the boys looking in her window, or people making comments about her breasts. Even as a grown adult, like, my mother would say to me, like, I can't, like, this is what I mean by being a man, okay, and, like, especially being a gay man. Like, my mother would say to me, like, you know, she would say, like, in her 50s, like, it still, like, baffles me that people look at me, like, men look at me, and the first thing they do is look at my chest. She's like, you know, I just cannot believe that, like, in our time period, like this still happens. She's like, you know, and that people think that's okay, you know, like, and, you know, like, I know my mom really struggled at times with, I think, growing up, like, or living in suburbia, too, with this perception of what, like, you know, a mom should be, and a single mom. And I think also being a single mom and a divorced woman at the time that she got divorced, you know, she was going through a divorce in the 70s. Like, that didn't happen to a lot of people. Like, that was still, like, really early, you know? And I think she, you know, to some degree, like, her experiences that way, and being judged and what people would say to her, and, you know, like, I think she really, really struggled with that. And her feeling like she had failed in her marriage, you know, that she was a failure as a wife to some degree. I think I know she felt like that. She would talk about it. But I think that our experiences of what we go through in life, based on how we define ourselves, really does have a lot to do with how we view the world. And how can it not, you know? And I think that, my lips keep on getting so dry tonight. I have passed about 10 snow trucks and there are still like mounds of snow like all over the place. But anyway, I don't know. I definitely don't feel as vigilant about it as I did when I was younger. I think that I have a story to tell if anybody wants to hear it. Like, I don't mean right now, but I mean like in life, I have a story to tell. You know, I have several stories to tell. To give people hope, to educate, and things like that. But on top of that, I think that my activism today, if you even call it that, is just living a right life and living a good life with my husband and my dogs, and showing, you know, the younger generation that you too can have that, and you can be sober. You can be a sober person that has long-term sobriety and doesn't have to use drugs and alcohol, and you can still have fun. You know, that you can be, you know, love who you want to love and get married and have a total normalcy of, you know, dogs that go in the grocery store. And, you know, I mean, let's just be for real. If you watch my vlog on a daily basis, how boring is my life? Like, let's just be for real. You know what I mean? And I think, like, what is going on here? Some truck is, like, just stopped in the middle of the road. You know, and I think that's an important message that I want at least one person to see it out there. If one person, you know, sees that and realizes, you know, I've gotten some really, really nice messages through the years, and I get messages from, I mean, I've gotten messages from college students to men in their 50s to people that have come. I just literally got the most heartwarming letter. I don't know if she said she watches my vlog. I can't remember what. I took it inside. But I got the sweetest letter from this young lady that just recently came out as bisexual, and she's in college. And so she was asked if she wanted to do, in college, a year thesis on something. And she had read my book, and my book really impacted her. She said she had it highlighted and all this kind of stuff. And I'm actually, this is cute. It really, really, really touched my soul, and I'm gonna tell you why in just a second. So she's hand wrote this letter to me, okay? It was like 3 pages. And she talked about how she was doing her thesis for a year on coming out story, young adult coming out stories, and that she was going to use my book as part of that, as well as like Becky Albertalli's Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Love Simon, the book, okay, that they made into the movie Love Simon. I was like, what an honor, right? And so she went in there and she was talking about like kind of her story and stuff like that, you know, and she probably wouldn't have found my book if it wasn't for my videos, okay? So when I think about 2.5 years of being on YouTube and the time that I spent working on that book, writing it, editing it, getting it out there, on and on and on, if all of this was just for one person to feel more comfortable in their skin, I'm completely fine with that. Like, that is just more than enough for me, honest to God. And I sat there and I read this letter, and it was interesting because when I was in college, I reached out, like I was in this class, and we had to write to like a favorite author, right? And I wrote to Jill McCorkle, and who at that time was one of my favorite authors, and she still is. I just haven't read anything by her in a really, really long time, but she wrote a book called Ferris Beach that just changed my life. And she is very colloquial, and she writes Southern Lit, and her stories are just fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. And she's somebody that should have been huge, and she didn't. She's very Fanny Flaggish, if you've read anything by her. She should have been huge. She should have been absolutely huge. And So I wrote her, and she wrote me back, and this just absolutely amazing front back of a paper, you know, hand wrote it, encouraged me to keep writing. And, you know, okay, that was when I was in college, when I was drinking at the time, so 26 years ago, I still remember what an impact that had on me, you know? And I think we don't realize sometimes the ability that we have to uplift people and to really powerfully impact somebody in a positive way. Like, just a letter that she sat down and wrote and sent to me, 26 years later, I still remember that. You know, like, that's crazy, isn't it? I still have that letter in my basement. And when I finally sat down to write my book, you know what? That was in 2014. So I was at the time 42. I remembered that letter, and I remembered that she said, you know, you can do this. And because I said I wanted to be a writer, and she said, you can do this, you know? And I remembered that, you know? 22 years later, I remembered that. And that's huge. And I think that we have to remember that, you know? And that's why, like, in, you know, in my videos, like, I try to, like, on here, you know, share stories that people might relate to and make you either just, like, I don't know, be able to escape or cry or laugh, you know? And, you know, on my Peter Monn channel, it's like, I try to do things in a way that are fair but funny, you know what I mean? Or if it's a more personal story, educational, but I don't know, more endearing on there, you know? My Peterson's channel, I love that. I just love reading the meditations on there so much. And, you know, like my BookTube channel, I mean, it's just, I feel so honored to do, like, all of my channels. My review channel I have so much fun on, that I just feel so blessed that I get to do that. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, I really do consciously think about the one, like, when it's interesting, like, but not every moment, not every video, but I think about the one person that's, like, sitting, like, right now, like, since I'm talking about it, I really do think about this. I think about the one person that's, like, and it's weird, because I think about this a lot, like, when I'm uploading it or whatever, I'll think about, like, that one person that's sitting there, you know, like, and is home from work and waited to put on my vlog and sit down and eat dinner because, you know, they didn't want to eat dinner alone, or is in bed with their boyfriend watching this, or, you know, doing their makeup in the morning, or listening to it as they drive to work, you know, and it just really means so much to me that you guys allow me into your lives to be part of that. Somebody said something to me, I got, like, you know, I get tagged and all this shit, and somebody said something about this channel, and they said, well, he only gets about 3,000 views a video, and I said, well, I felt like saying, well, 3,000 is a good, oh, it's gonna stop, hold on. And I wanted to say, well, 3,000 is on a good day, but, you know, you think about that, like, I went to high school, and my graduating class was like 670 people, okay? And so, my high school was sophomore, junior, and seniors. So that's 700 people, okay, for 3 classes at the time that I graduated, which was 2,100 people, including the entire staff. So let's say, what is that, 200 maybe more people? So 2,300 people. That's like my entire high school being forced to sit in an auditorium and watch my vlogs on a daily basis of me driving around in a car talking about my life. I feel like I'm doing okay. I feel, like, I'm happy with that. Like, that's really cool to me. 100 would be really cool to me, you know? That anybody out there, sometimes the numbers baffle me. They really, really do, you know? And, when you really think about it as far as, like, real world numbers, not YouTube numbers, because I think in the real world, you know, like, I think on YouTube we have this, like, when you think about, like Jenna Marbles just reached some number, I don't know what it was, 20 million or 19 million or something like, she hit some huge number, right? And you think about, like, that on YouTube, right? Like, compared to PewDiePie or other people, or like, there's a lot of like James Charles and Jeffree Star, they're up at like 13 million, I think now, right? And they grow so fast. Well, I think that we kind of have like, this misguided view of those numbers, if that makes sense, right? Like, misguided view. Like, that's not the way I wanted to say it. We kind of have we don't think about them in realistic terms. 13 million people, okay? Just think about that for a second. Just think about that. Like, those are crazy numbers, you know? 7 million, 1 million, 100,000 people. 20,000 people is a major concert. 10,000 people is a major concert, you know? 5,000, 2,000, 100, 50. One person out there, and I say one small thing, and they look at the world in a different way. Or they leave me a comment, and I look at the world in a different way. One person. You never have any idea, you know, who you're really impacting out there in the world. When you guys leave comments for me, you know, and I read them, and sometimes I get comments or messages from people that just stick with me forever, you know, like, somebody left a comment on a video, I don't even know what channel it was, but they said something about, and I do not own this, I don't take responsibility for this, I don't take any ownership over this whatsoever. But they said if it wasn't for me talking about my sobriety, they never would have got sober in the first place, and they have been sober for, like, I can't remember how long. It's not somebody that comments on my videos on a regular basis, because I would remember that. And I was like, that is really powerful, that, like, somebody feels that, like, I impacted them in a positive way to help them get sober, like, just by sharing my story of what I do to stay sober. Like, that is really, really cool, you guys. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is like, I say this all the time, but we all have a story. We all have something to say. We all have something that's important to us in our lives. We've all been, you know, like, gone through something that we can share with somebody else. That's why I encourage people, if you want to start a YouTube channel, start a YouTube channel. You got a story to tell. You got something to say. You want to start an anonymous blog and write things out, do that. You know, do whatever you want to do. Like, get your story out. If you want to start, you know, an Instagram and put, you know, motivational pictures on there, do that. I think that's great too. You know, I think there's all kinds of things that we can, I'm now finding myself looking at cars constantly. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we can do. I think, I can't even see what that car was. I think there were all kinds of things that we can do to share our story, to share our message, you know? You know, I think sometimes, like, I wonder, like, if I was out in high school, if it would have made a difference. And I think that, like, at the time that I was in high school, I think it would have probably, and I mean, I'm being honest, like, I think the school, well, I would have been the first person, okay? So, and I almost was, because I came out when I was 18, but, I think the school wouldn't have known how to handle it. I went to a very conservative school, and I think they wouldn't have known how to handle it. And I think but my parents, I think, would have demanded that they protect me, the school, especially my father. And since I came out, if I told you some stories about my dad, just some situations that he's been in, that he has been, I mean, my dad has just been, I mean, amazing. Absolutely amazing, you know? And, the camera slid. Okay, so now I'm driving through this, what do you call it? Strip mall that I drive through every night, but I probably shouldn't have driven through here because it's so bumpy and there's snow and ice and they haven't really cleaned it up much. The bar is packed though. It's interesting, a little local bar. But my dad has been somebody that has been like absolutely amazing. Like, he just does not deal with homophobia at all. He just doesn't. Not whatsoever. My dad is somebody that has very little tolerance for a lot of ignorance anyway, but, yeah, he's just been, okay, this is, I don't, my dad's been awesome in the whole situation. It's never been an issue, like, with my family, you know? Like, I was talking to somebody about this today. I was talking to one of my friends about this today. We were talking about my mom, and, you know, like, my mom, I think she was so full of fear because she was scared to death of how society would treat me, you know? Like, she knew how society would treat me. And she even said when I came out, she said, she's like, society's not nice to, is not kind to gay people. And, you know, I think she was so afraid of, she really held back. She really held back for a long time. I would love to say, as my mother, you know, being the most liberal person in the world that just embraced me immediately and was marching in parades and things like that. That just wasn't the case. It just wasn't. She was totally afraid. And the thing is that my mom was always somebody that for other people could be that. But when it came to me, if you're a parent, I think you'll understand this. Because, like, as I've gotten older, I get it. Like, I get it today. I don't know that I understood it then. You know, like, if you were real different and you had, like, you know, and you were, like, outspoken about your belief systems and you had crazy colored hair and you were looking different, my mother loved you. She embraced you. She was your biggest advocate. Unless it was me. And I think it was because she was afraid, you know, people are going to make fun of you. People are going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. From Carrie, you know. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to say things. People are going to hurt you. They're going to, you know, make you feel pain. And she was so protective of me. I think she didn't want that. You know, and so it was really hard for her. And I remember when the Matthew Shepard thing happened, when Matthew Shepard was murdered. My mother was literally glued to the television watching the news coverage of it. Like, literally, she couldn't. That was the moment that everything changed for her. And she started becoming, like, very outspoken about things. And, you know, I think that one of the things that we don't really, I don't know, I've been out for so long now. I don't know that I can speak to this appropriately. But I think that one of the things that we don't do as much now that we did earlier, like when I first came out, was that, like, if I was around people that had strong anti-gay convictions, but they still liked me, let's just say, they just didn't approve of my lifestyle, or they, you know, had strong religiosity or whatever, that, like, I would protect their emotions. Like, I wouldn't talk about my boyfriend, or, do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to make them uncomfortable at my expense. Well, my mother did the same thing, and she had some friends that were very religious, and so she would never say, like, Peter's boyfriend, even though we were coming over to the house for dinner 3 nights a week, and she knew we lived together and slept in the same bed, and we took trips with her, you know? This was like my first boyfriend. She would say, Peter's friend, is what she would say. It would piss me off. I would say, Mom, he's not my friend. You know that. He's my boyfriend. Well, I know, but so-and-so doesn't really understand it. She doesn't really agree with that, and I don't want to make her uncomfortable. Well, when the Matthew Shepard thing happened, my mom was like, I don't really care who I make comfortable or not anymore, okay? It's my kid, and I want my kid to be alive and to be happy, and if they have an issue with it, that's their issue. Like, they need to deal with it. It's not my issue to deal with their level of comfort. And that was when things really started changing for her. She never got nasty about it. She never got rude in people's faces. She never did, you know? My dad never really did either, but he had no problem, you know, educating people and telling them, like, you gotta maybe think through what you're saying a little bit, you know? And, I don't know. I'm so thankful for that I had parents that were, as supportive as they were. I think to some degree, too, like, until I was older, I really took it for granted because, you know, like now, like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this as I'm sharing this, and I'm thinking, somebody will put in the comment sections, wow, like, how lucky to have parents like you did, right? And I get that today. Like, I feel so thankful for that today. I mean, my dad walked me down the aisle at my own damn wedding and spoke at my wedding, you know? My dad hugs Alex and kisses him on the cheek. I mean, you know, my dad and my stepmom have just totally embraced Alex and all of my boyfriends. Well, you know, he's not my boyfriend, my husband, but all of my boyfriends before that. We traveled with them, you know? And, my mom and my aunt and my uncle and Caroline and Mike and everybody, you know, and like Alex's family has completely embraced me, and I feel like, you know what, like, we have had it really, really good, and I want people to see that you have the ability to have that. And no, our marriage is not perfect, and no, you know, it hasn't been an easy road from the time that I, you know, was sitting at the lunchroom table and kids were making fun of me till now. It hasn't been easy. It's been rough. But it's been worth it, you know? And it hasn't been enough that I've needed to check out, you know? Like, and I know that that's hard, you know? Like, when you feel like you don't have any options. I think that's the thing that scares me the most or makes me the saddest, you know, is when I hear these stories, and I feel like they kind of come in phases, you know? Just like thinking, like, you know, some of the shit that I went through when I was in high school, like the worst of it, you know? Not mad at those people today, not angry at those people. But it didn't mean that it was easy. It was hard, you know? It was lonely. You know, I wasn't out to my friends. Obviously, I wasn't out to anybody. And so I have somebody calling me names and making fun of me, and I can't even say to my friends who were defensive as shit of me, you know, this is so hard, because in my heart of hearts, they're making fun, without even knowing it, of who I really am inside. And they're taking my story from me. And it's not funny. And it hurts. And it's painful. But, see, I didn't do that. Because I was too afraid of anybody knowing. Because I thought there was something wrong with me. And so I kept silent. And so I just stood there and took it. And what I know today was that there was nothing wrong with me. Nothing. And why did they do that? I don't know. because they were maybe in some pain, and it made them feel a little bit better to, I don't know, pick fun on somebody else, or, you know, I understand a little bit more about it now than I did then, and I think the way we get through that is through love and forgiveness. I think that, you know, when I hold resentment in my heart, especially you want to talk about if I was holding 30-year resentment in my heart, like, that really is hurting me, because I can tell you the majority of the people that affected me negatively in high school, I ain't written no space in their head for free. You know, I mean, they're not thinking about me at all. So, I mean, like, that's just the reality. And I think, you know, the best justice is living the best life that I have possible, and not having that be anything more than inspiration and motivation to live the best life possible, but at the same time forgiving them and allowing them to have the best life possible too, you know? And only when, this is so strange, but only when those people started having kids and their kids were at the age that I started getting picked on, did I start hearing from those people a lot. Like, I'm really sorry, or whatever. I actually had a couple people that reached out to me that were bullies of mine, like, and said, like, you know, what advice would you give if, you know, like, your child had been, like, was being bullied, and I just was, like, really nice about it. You know, it's like, I'm so sorry to hear this is going on, you know, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, we grow up, we learn, you know? And I think that's why it makes me so sad when I hear these stories of, you know, these kids just, like, taking their lives and hurting themselves and just, like, feeling like they have nowhere to go, you know? And, I mean, the thing for me is this, is that, and this is where I would say to you, no matter if you understand your kids, no matter if you understand your kids' lives, no matter if you like their friends or you don't like their friends, get involved, get invested. Know the fuck who your kids are hanging out with. Know their parents. Even if they don't like that you're trying to do that. Find out who your kids are. Because if they don't have anybody to come home to in their head, and school's not a safe place for them, and they don't have a lot of friends, that's when it becomes very scary, you know? And I had really supportive friends. And I had really supportive family. And I had really supportive friends of family as well. You know, that even though we weren't sitting around at a dinner table and people were saying, now, Peter, we know you're gay and we love you anyway. Nobody was saying that, right? I don't know why, but they weren't. I mean, I was no less effeminate in high school, probably more so, you know? And so it wasn't like anybody was saying that, but at the same time, I knew I was loved. I knew I was cared about, you know? And that's living in an alcoholic home of craziness. I still knew I was loved, you know? I think we worry so much about, I can't give my kids this, or I can't buy them an iPad, or I don't have a college fund for my kid. Love your kid. Love your kid, embrace your kid for who they are, you know? If they're the school jock athlete, go to all their games, you know? If they're in the band, go listen to them, you know, play. If they're in the choir, go listen to them, you know, sing. If they're artsy, ask to see their paintings, ask to see their drawings and their doodles. If they're reading and they're isolated in the room, ask them what they're reading, get involved, find out who your kid is, love your kid. A lot of us don't have a lot of money to spend on the people around us, but we sure as shit have love to give. It's not that deep, you know? And sometimes we think that's not enough, and I think that's 10 times more than a lot of people have, you know? I'm so thankful that I had that. You know, I may have been afraid of my mom's drinking, and I may have been afraid of, you know, what was going on with her, and I may have, you know, sometimes, you know, not been real certain in my own home, and I was bullied, you know, in school horribly, and had horrible things said to me and done to me and all of that kind of stuff, but I never once ever questioned whether or not my mother or my father loved me. Never. I never questioned whether or not my Aunt Kathy, my Uncle Dave, and my other family members loved me. I never. Never, never, never. I knew I had their unending support and love always. And that's some money in the bank. Let's just be for real, right? think it wouldn't kill any of us to go out of our way a little bit more, including myself, you know, to show those people around us, whether it's our husbands or our wives or boyfriends or girlfriends, go a little the extra mile to show them how much we really love them. You know, like, I don't know, maybe that's a goal I need to make in the next month, you know, between now and Valentine's Day, you know, is to really, what is today? Are we are we counting down today, I think yesterday was the 12th, so it's probably like the 13th. I can't see I think it's the 13th. So, I mean, like Sunday the 13th. That's good. It's a month between now and Valentine's Day, which I know people don't like Valentine's Day, but I love Valentine's Day, so get over it. But anyway, you know, maybe we need to make a commitment that we're going to put more love out there into the world, you know? To our spouses and our boyfriends, girlfriends, to our parents, to our relatives, to our kids, to our family members, to our friends, you know? Just be more loving and kind, doing small things for them, you know? If you know your boyfriend likes a Snicker bar, bring him a damn Snicker bar home and surprise him with it. It's little shit like that, you know? I have brought Alex so much damn hummus this week from the grocery store. He's got like 4 containers of it at home. And I just do it to make him happy. And I said to him tonight, I said, you haven't even eaten any of that hummus. He goes, well, I only asked for it one night. And I keep on buying it for him, you know. But it's not just him. I mean, I need to do that with everybody, you know. Take Tanya a card, and, you know, Tanya loves cards, you know. And, or make her a card, or, you know, just do something special for her. Make your kids, you know, French toast, or just let your kid know, like, just want you to know how much I care about you, you know. I think, you know, we're worried about our public persona to people, like at work and places like that, and on social media and on Instagram, but we don't really care so much what the people right around us think of us, you know, or if they know how much we really love them. And, I don't know. It is literally, you guys, like snow, like just for days out here. Like I'm driving through this area that's a golf course, and it's just like snow for days. It is absolutely beautiful. I wonder how long it'll stick around. I hope for a while. Ooh, child, things are gonna be easier. Tanya and I always sing that song to each other. We had a discussion tonight, didn't we? We sure did. We're solving the world's problems on here. Do you guys like Valentine's Day? I know half of you out there are going to say you hate it, but I do love Valentine's Day. I don't know why. I always have. My poor husband knows we always have to do something romantic. But we'll have just come back from Los Angeles for Valentine's Day this year, so. Yeah, it's getting kind of slushy out. It's kind of still snowing a little bit though, but not much. I'm hungry for brunch now. I'm ready for brunch. What did we do last Sunday? We didn't go. I was going to say, it feels like a long time since I've been there. We didn't go last Sunday because we, did we wake up late? I can't even remember now. I don't think we went last Sunday. All right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here and listen to my audiobook a little bit and then go home and sleep with my husband and my dogs. Vlog was all over the place tonight, wasn't it? Anyway, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday. I love you. Thank you so much for watching my vlog. It means the world to me. If you made it this far, let's put a little peace sign. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.